Good morning my friends, today I will take you to see the site 2 of 2500 years stone jars in Laos, where there was discovered the human bone. The stone jars in xiengkhouang province of Laos is one of the most enigmatic sites on earth. This is the road to the stone site, we come here by motorbike. The stone jars is near here. Okay, now, walk with me to the stone. Here is the jar site 2 in Laos. So, now I see the huge of stone jars over there. The jars in the xiengkhouang province of Laos is one of the most enigmatic sites on earth. The age of these stone jars is about 2500 years. Unusual scattering of thousands of megalithic jars across nearly 100 sites deep in the mountains of northern Laos has fascinated archaeologists and scientists ever since their discovery in the 1930s. Jar Site 2, or say in local words Hai Hin Phu Salato, is located about 20 kilometers southwest of Phonsavan. The site contains 93 jars spread across 2 adjacent hills. The megalithic jar sites or plain of jars in xiengkhouang, located on a plateau in central Laos, gets its name from more than 2,100 tubular-shaped megalithic stone jars used for funerary practices in the Iron Age. This serial property of 15 components contains large carved stone jars, stone discs, secondary burials, tombstones, quarries and funerary objects dating from 500 BCE to 500 CE. And associated elements are the most prominent evidence of the Iron Age civilization that made and used them until it disappeared around 500 CE. The brief synthesis, more than 2,100 tubular-shaped megalithic stone jars used for funerary practices in the Iron Age, give the plain of jars its name. This serial property of 15 components contains 1325 of these large carved stone jars, stone discs, possibly lids for the jars, secondary burials, grave markers, quarries, manufacturing sites, grave goods and other features. Located on hill slopes and spurs surrounding the central plateau, the jars are large, well-crafted, and required technological skill to produce and move from the quarry locations to the funerary sites. The jars and associated elements are the most prominent evidence of the Iron Age civilization that made and used them, about which little is known. Sites are dated from between 500 BCE and 500 CE, and possibly up to as late as 800 CE. The jars and associated archaeological features provide evidence of these ancient cultural practices, including associated social hierarchies. The plain of jars is located at an historical crossroads between 2 major cultural systems of Iron Age Southeast Asia, the Mun-Mekong system and the Red River Gulf of Tonkin system. Because the area is one that facilitated movement through the region, enabling trade and cultural exchange, the distribution of the jars sites is thought to be associated with The integrity of the serial property is based on the material evidence contained in the 15 components, the intactness of the individual components and the series as a whole, and the relatively stable state of conservation of the attributes. There are impacts on the visual integrity of some components, such as the construction of new houses and Buddhist temple outside the buffer zone for Site 1, poorly sited roads tracks within several components, and conservation problems and intrusive constructions within Site 3. Some attributes have been damaged in the past by bombing and other effects of war, and by cattle. The authenticity of the serial property is based on the form, design, materials and locations of the megalithic jars and other attributes, such as lids, secondary burials and archaeological deposits. For the most part, the materials are original, located in their original locations, with relatively little disturbance to the archaeological deposits. While past factors have damaged the jars and their settings, their abundance, antiquity and condition support the authenticity of the serial property. Site 2 stone jars. There are two groups. This is a first group. I will take you to the second group later. The jars is dated to the Iron Age, 500 BC to 500 AD, and is made up of at least 3,000 giant stone jars up to 3 meters, 9.8 feet tall. Most are made of sandstone, but there are others carved out of much harder granite and limestone. One of the big mysteries about the site is how the massive jars, some weighing up to 10 metric tons, were dragged from the quarry to be placed in groupings 10 km. According to local legend, the jars were created by a race of giants whose king needed somewhere to store his rice wine. The wine was to be consumed at a great feast to celebrate an illustrious military victory thousands of years ago. Legend tells of an evil king named Xiengkhouang who oppressed his people so terribly that they appealed to a good king to the north named Kunjuum to liberate them. Kunjuum and his army came, and after waging a huge battle on the plain, defeated Xiengkhouang. Laos has been working for 20 years to have the Plain of Jars, known locally as Thong Hai Hin, listed as a World Heritage Site. When UNESCO announces the site's inscription, it will be the third such site in Laos. Director General of the Heritage Department, Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism Thongpay Phothasain, said on Facebook on May 14 that Thong Hai Hin has been accepted as a World Heritage Site, and its listing is expected to be officially announced at the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization (UNESCO) meeting in Azerbaijan. The Plain of Jars World Heritage proposal involves 11 separate places where the ancient stone jars are located in the province's districts of Peak, Phaksay, Phaukhet and Kham. The mysterious jars were carved from sandstone and granite, and their size ranges from very small to about 3.5 meters in height. They are thought to be more than 2,000 years old. The Plain of Jars comprises about 80 distinct sites, but only 11 are included in the list. The serial property is protected under the Law on National Heritage 2013, supported by the decree of the President of the Lao People's Democratic Republic on the preservation of cultural, historical and natural heritage 1997, and the Provincial Governor's Decree concerning the management and conservation of the Plain of Jars World Heritage Sites, number 990. New discoveries in Laos deepen the ancient mystery of the stone jars. A team of archaeologists from the Australian National University has discovered over 100 ancient stone jars across 15 sites in Laos. The new discoveries add to the thousands of other strange jars found on the central plains of Laos, increasing the scope of one of Southeast Asia's most enduring archaeological. Known as the Plain of Jars, these sites were first reported on by Western archaeologists in 1935. It wasn't until the 1990s that researchers were able to begin systematically exploring the massive region, partially due to the high volume of unexploded bombs left over from U.S. Air Force offensives during the Vietnam War. The 15 newly discovered jar sites add to more than 90 previously recorded locations, indicating the distribution of these artifacts was more widespread than archaeologists assumed. The new sites reveal another 137 massive stone pots found in mountainous forests in the Xiengkhouang province. The new discoveries expand the mystery of the jars by revealing their presence across even larger spans of land. As Australian National University archaeologist Dougal O'Reilly suggests, it is still unclear who actually constructed and used these stone jars. A number of intricately carved large stone discs were discovered alongside the jars at some of these new sites. The imagery on these discs varied from human figures to geometric designs. The archaeologists hypothesized these discs to be decorative burial markers, however the kind of decorative carving recently uncovered at these new sites has not been consistently seen at other sites, making it difficult to interpret. These new sites adds to the intriguing mystery of Laos Plain of Jars, affirming there is still much more to be discovered. Stifling progress has been the slow clearance of all the unexploded munitions in the region, limiting movement for archaeologists. However, the scientists believe there are probably more undiscovered sites in heavily forested, unexplored regions, so many clues